Welcome to Dextercast, the podcast where we explore the different perspectives on the issues that matter. I'm Nobi, today your host and guide. I'll be joined by a special guest today, a man with many identities. Meet Carver Bacchus, an accomplished filmmaker with a passion for environment and sustainability. With over 15 years of professional experience, Carver has used his skills to develop creative communication tools for the environmental education. As a managing director of Sustain T&T, a non-profit organization, Carver has spearheaded the development of the only environmentally focused film festival in the Caribbean, the Green Screen Environmental Film Festival. Carver has become a leading voice in the intersection of film and environmentalism, using the power of storytelling to raise awareness and inspire action. Join us as we dive into the world of environmental filmmaking with Carver Bacchus. Hey Carver,
Hey,
can you see me?
hey, bro. Yeah, man, I can see you. You
Thank
alright?
you so much, man, making the time for me.
No worries, no worries.
Let me start by saying that I know you for some time now, and I know that you have many identities: an activist, organizer, communication specialist, and also a filmmaker. But today, we are going to focus only your career as a filmmaker, and we will try to
Okay.
learn the challenges that you faced and how you overcome those challenges, those obstacles. And also,
Mm-hmm.
we love to listen to any small details that you have to share from your journey that is going to help any new filmmakers or anyone who is interested in this kind of work.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just ready to jump into it. I'm not sure exactly what questions you have, so just keen to keen to hear them, and hopefully I'll be able to respond sensibly.
So, I'm going to start with how it all started for you, if you could share it with us.
How it all started.
I mean, the filmmaking career.
Filmmaking career. Yeah, I have always been, fascinated with the moving image. I've always loved films. I've always loved movies. Um, I remember going, my dad taking my brother and I to the movies when we were little kids. And yeah, I just always found it a very magical experience. And I always connected with the fact that movies could make me feel something and it could change my perspective on things. And it could even change my worldview. Um, and I think a lot of movies actually shaped who I am. Films in different forms, shaped who I am as a person and as a professional. They made me interested in things that maybe I may not have been interested in if I hadn't seen films about them or curious about those things. Um, and so I studied communications at undergraduate, um, and my project, or I guess it was an internship really, was with a video production company. And in those days, digital editing was actually new. So I learned about digital editing. I learned about composition. I learned about camera operation. I learned about writing for video and for film. It was really a bit of a crash course in what film and video production is all about. And that was sort of my first taste of it, and I really found it interesting. It was something that I felt as though, yeah, I could do this. I could actually do this. This is something that I could do every day. If I could, it would be great. If I could do this every day, if I could write every day and, figure out how to, put shots together every day, wouldn't that be super? Um, and yeah, I actually never really got, after that, it sort of drifted away from me professionally for a long time. I would say maybe 15 years, almost, maybe 10 years. I did not pick up a camera. I was not on a set. I did not write a script for film for 10 years, and then spent my career in marketing and business development and sales and retail management and all sorts of things that really, it was good experience. but I was sort of going in a very clear direction away from a career involving the moving image. And so, yeah, maybe about 2008, I decided to go to film school, which, by the way, I don't think filmmakers really need to go to film school, to be honest. I think film school is a bit of a sham. You really should, pick up a camera and do it, and that's the best way to learn. But of course, there are, specialty fields, and yeah, school is good and education is good, blah, blah, blah. But, film school as an idea, I think people's expectations are really unrealistic of it. Anyway, so I went to film school, and then after that, as they say, the rest is kind of history. I decided to use storytelling as a means for change, for social change, because I knew how it was able to affect me. So I felt I could do that for other people.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But you also mentioned that you have worked in marketing or business sectors as well. So you could work in advertising filmmaking, you could work in other genres of filmmaking. Those are like financially more profitable. But
Mm-hmm.
what was like your motivation, or was there a person who particularly motivates you to come in this sector of like sustainable filmmaking or filmmaking for a social cause? What was the particular reason that motivated you to work in this subgenre?
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean I did work in advertising. So I was around, film productions in the context of ads. And I was an account executive managing accounts and managing clients who would produce television ads, mini movies, etc., for promotional reasons. So I'd be around it, and I would see that there's a lot of investment going into getting people to buy toothpaste, a lot of investment going into, getting people to buy fried chicken, and I thought, well, why not use the same these skills, the power of the moving image? Why not use it to get people to do things that can actually benefit themselves and society? And that's really where it came from. It was just a matter of sort of recognizing, oh, I mean, if you can use this power for evil, then certainly it can be used for something that's considered to be good or something that's positive. So that's really where the inspiration came from. Yeah, it was clear to me the power of the medium. It was just how you wield it. It was a question of how you wield it and what you do. So that was really the question that I was trying to address.
I completely agree. I mean, if you weren't as interested in other genres or working in advertising, your output would not be the same probably. So, like, I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
even though the money isn't the same, I mean, you enjoy working here. So, like, the quality of your work is different completely.
Yeah. No, so I want to say something here. Don't get me wrong, right? We still have to pay bills. We still have to pay people. We still have to pay ourselves. We still have to live. I do not believe in this idea of the struggling artist or the starving artist. I think that there's a part of any artist that has to figure out the best way to get paid for what they're good at. Some might argue, against that and say and focus on the question of staying true to your art and only doing that. But if you stay true to your art and you starve, or you can't, afford to pay your bills, then yeah, it's great. You have your artistic integrity, but what you don't really have much else. So
Yes.
it ultimately it's the creative sector. It's about generating
Mhm.
benefits. It's
Exactly.
about solving problems, because art is design and design solves problems. So, you know, I think more creatives need to start looking at things in that context, in terms of, well, you're a creative, you're creating cool stuff, but what problem are you solving?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, I have also seen like all kind of different kind of artists who are like suffering and struggling, and they are more of a level as working class artists. And there are some other artists who are like more privileged, and they do art just as a hobby, and it's nothing of a headache for them. They can just do it whenever they want and how they want.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are artists who are working and also earning money from their art. They have more of a responsibility, and at
Yeah,
times they also feel like they don't have enough freedom producing
yeah.
their art. So, have you ever felt any sort of limitations like that?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I think my reality is a little bit different, because I wear so many hats. I don't depend on only making films, although there have been times when making films was really keeping the lights on and buying groceries. But making films is part of what I do. It's not the only thing that I do. So not every not everything requires a film. Not every project is going to be about film. Not every solution requires a particular communication intervention. So as a non-profit operator, as a social entrepreneur, as a creative, as a consultant, I have the luxury of drawing on all these different sort of spaces and stuff to do what I need to do, whether it's for a client, whether it's for some personal project or otherwise, so um, so I have that flexibility. If I don't get a film job for 6 months, it's okay, you
Yeah,
know. Although I won't be happy because I think that I'm happiest when
yeah.
there's a production, But if I don't get something for 6 months, then yeah, I could still, I still have work to do.
So, can we say that it is kind of difficult for a filmmaker to only survive on this kind of work, or do they
Mm.
all have to like find some alternative source of income?
I think that filmmakers need to, and this is the challenge of artists and creatives, right? Because artists and creatives can be very, 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 very talented, but not necessarily understand the business of the creative sector. And I think that is probably one of the biggest deficiencies globally, for the sector, for the, whatever you want to call it, the creative sector, the orange economy. There are all these terms that are bandied around now. But but yeah, so if you focus on your technical understanding of, you're the best color grading guy ever, but you don't know how to market those services, you don't know how to balance your books, you don't know how to get business, you don't know how to manage your actual, let's call it, your production line, then you're gonna have problems. So yeah, I would suggest to up and coming creatives to get a sense of where they want to operate, um, where they can contribute commercially, where they can find an advantage, um, and exploit that advantage. Yeah, yeah. I mean that is the point. That you know, not only do you have to be skilled at your craft, but you also have to be skilled at understanding business and understanding the environment that you're operating in. So you also have to be a marketer. You also have to be a salesperson. Sadly, you also have to be a manager.
Yes.
Because it ultimately it is business, and people are gonna pay you with money,
Mhm.
and money comes with obligations. So you have to pay attention to the business management side of things just as much as the craft.
So we're going to talk something that is a little bit different. You have been working in this field in different countries now. You have worked in Trinidad. I don't. You have also worked in UK for a while, and now you are in Sweden. So I would ask you if, like, you would like to share the differences between all these locations and compared to Sweden, of course. Like, what
Mm.
have you seen so far?
Um. Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, because when I was in the UK, I was a student, and now that I'm in Sweden, I'm a student again. So I haven't really had the opportunity to engage with the sector, to engage with the industry in the same way in those places that I did, compared to Trinidad and Tobago, where a lot of my career has been spent. Even though I have worked in the region, um, I've shot films and done different projects in different countries in the region. I don't think I'm in a position to speak to the situation in Sweden or the situation in the UK. Everything would be conjecture, and my perspective not really based on anything significant. So I'm
Yeah.
careful about that. I mean, I can tell you that the size of the video production, film production market in Sweden and the UK compared to Trinidad and Tobago is huge. You know, um, we are still trying to grow our sector. We're still trying to encourage big productions to come to Trinidad. We're still trying to develop the production pipeline, the resources, the talent base to support a big production. Um, as it is now, we're not sure if we'd be able to, really meet the mark. Um, so it's really a question of scale, and what the UK and what Sweden have done is they've invested significantly in building capacity, developing festivals, um, developing their own sort of distribution channels. Um, they've looked at it, long term. They've looked at the requirements of developing the sector long term. The challenge that we face in Trinidad and Tobago is that I think that there's a desire to support the development of the film sector. I think that there are good people with good intentions, trying to make that happen, but it's still slow going because the planning doesn't seem to be very long term.
Yeah.
It's still sort of year to year kind of planning, and it's a challenge to develop under those circumstances in any sector. More so when there's so much uncertainty, with a sector like the creative sector. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was not the question you asked me, but
No,
I
it's
will.
fine. It's always, I'm open to hear anything that you have to say. So not a problem.
I'll offer that. Yeah.
But do you think, like, your country, Trinidad, or like the smaller countries where I'm from, Bangladesh, I think scenario is there also kind of the same, but also they're adapting to how people are working here in Sweden or in UK. So we are also adapting, but things here is also changing quite fast. So what do you think, like, the future is going to look like in this subgenres of filmmaking that you are doing right now? Like, do you think it's going to change radically in the next few years?
Yeah, I think that things are changing very rapidly. Things changed a lot with the pandemic. Media is not what most people think it is anymore. There's, what is your objective? One has to ask, what is your objective with creating media? You know, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to get likes, views? Are you trying to actually change the way people look at a particular topic? Are you trying to change people's behavior? Are you trying to get a message out? Are you trying to simply entertain people? Are you trying to get famous? Are you trying to break down barriers and, you know, cultural barriers in some way? You know, it's really very open right now. And I mean, even though I operate in a sector, I can't say for sure what's going to happen in the next 10 years because, you know, you have, you know, Netflix, you have YouTube, you have Hulu, you have Amazon, you have all of these platforms that aggregate content in, you know, in different ways and for different purposes sometimes, you know, and everybody wants to make some money, you know, so, you know, your guess is as good as mine what the future is really going to hold for filmmakers. Maybe, you know, a filmmaker collective will be able to go up against some of these, you know, big content aggregators, you know, and say, maybe we take back a little bit of control of our content and we do it together, you know. You know, there's, who knows what's going to happen as really the bottom
we have
line.
to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
That is what I mean. And what I would like to see is I would like to see filmmakers having more control over their content. And I would like to see filmmakers being able to reach audiences more directly with their messages and with their materials. That is what I would like to see. And it not be so, let's say, commodified, you know, not have films and film content so commodified that you're talking about, you know, just product, you know, as opposed to art, you know. Yes. So yeah, that's what I hope for.
Okay, Carver, I think we can go on this topic for hours, but I think you are a busy man, so I have to let you go now. And thank you very much for giving me this time. And
my pleasure.
we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Will be anytime. We just line it up and make it happen.